Good morning, everyone. Uh, this is Chris Koropati. With me is Hiren Shah from Cambrian Lab. Thank you for taking the time to join this session. The session topic today is pursuit of perfect master data. We think any error, even one master data error, is one too many, and we will show why it is in many cases and what we can do about it. Uh, so in today's session, we are going to have a fairly packed agenda. We have about 45 minutes to finish everything. We want to keep it fairly interactive in the sense that leave enough time between and after towards the end for any Q&A. Just a little bit about Zoom logistics here. If you have any questions, we would like all the questions to be answered towards the end so that we have some continuity. What you can do for any questions or comments is you can use the Q&A bar within the Zoom to either type in a question in the chat or in the Q&A. We will try to answer as much as we can within the 45 minutes that we have today. But if we are not able to, we will keep track of the questions and answer as part of the material that we will share after this session recording is finished and available to us. It usually takes about 1 or 2 days for the recording to be coming to us, and then do a little bit of editing and publish it, all the material. So the presentation and the recording, you will get it by perhaps Monday. Okay, so let's look at the agenda for today. I'm going to go into presentation mode. We're going to do a very brief introduction of us, both Aaron and I, and also explain what really prompted us to the pursuit of perfect master data. It's a theme that we have. As a company, we do provide a solution for master data management to our customers in mostly manufacturing and supply chain heavy industries. But we will look at what impact it has when poor master data makes it into the enterprise and into the supply chain. Over the last couple of years, we've also spent a lot of time working with our customers on what they can do to achieve perfect master data. And we'll share our assessment of some of the things. We've kind of narrowed it down to 5. But we'll look at each of those to see, how you can really approach this pursuit of perfect master data. One thing you do want to make sure towards once you implement something or once you institute a process within your organization, you want to show results. And how do you validate if the strategy is working? And we'll close it off with how do you get started? It can be too much, but there are 1 or 2 things that you can do absolutely to make this happen and go pretty far in terms of achieving perfect master data. Okay. So with that, just a brief intro about us. So I'm Chris Koropati. I've been in manufacturing supply chain for about 20 plus years in many of the companies that manufactured or across different industries, high tech, automotive, and even software. Hiren is also a colleague of mine. Similar background, 20 plus years in ERP, CRM, finance, and manufacturing, working in operational roles in several industries. So we do come with fairly deep background and also an operational mindset. What does it really mean from a supply chain perspective, for new product introduction perspective? What impact does master data have? So we have that real world perspective from a master data perspective. Okay, so just a little bit about Cambrian Lab. So we primarily work in supply chain area. However, there are a couple of products, especially around master data and supplier development, that a lot of our customers use. And mostly the customers that have manufacturing and supply chains, rely on our solutions to kind of work with their suppliers and also improve on the master data related to the supply chain and manufacturing. Okay. A lot of expertise again within the team, primarily around technology as well as business domains of NPI and supplier development and master data. So we're based in California and on the East Coast and South in these three cities, but most of our customers are global and we support them across the world 24/7. Types of customers that are using our master data management solution and the types of business processes that they use in context of master data management. Okay, you can see core master data to new product introductions and supply chain, NPI engineering. Master data plays a humongous, really significant role in all of these processes, either as a core data that flows through the process or master data itself is being created as part of this business processes. So that's our real viewpoint here is business is really the center of all master data management excellence. Of course, master data teams play a big role in ensuring that happens. But our perspective is that the business is where a lot of improvements and excellence can be achieved. Okay, so the question, pursuit of perfect master data is somewhat ambitious, we would think. But there's one specific event that actually prompted us to really go deep into this topic. And that was one of our customers. And this was before they were our customer. They had a situation where they had some really time sensitive and also very, very expensive materials making into distribution centers. It happened a few times in the year, and they could not ship, and they actually had to get rid of that material because when the materials made it into the distribution center, they discovered that there was no quality plan assigned to it and there was no inspection types. None of that was in place. This being a very time sensitive material, by the time it was all done, the expiration dates, etc., all were in place and it could not be used or shipped to the customers. It is a major disruption. And that event is what actually prompted us and the customer to look at, how do we make sure that this never happens? And the answer to that is you want to get to as much, get to the goal of perfect master data as much as possible. It may not be 100% may not be achievable, but the closer to that goal you are, the better it is. And so that these types of disruption, there are many, many scenarios like this, not just this quality inspection plan where things are slowed down, NPI cycles are slowed down, suppliers have difficulty filling in fulfillment issues, warehousing, a lot of places where master data plays a very big role and poor master data can really disrupt operations. So that's what prompted us. And that being said, we really looked at, okay, what are some of the steps that the customer or companies can take to achieve perfect master data, or at least pursue that goal of master data? We've narrowed it down into five. I think some are more important than others. And one of the things that if you do follow these five principles, in about 6 months or 1 year, it'll narrow down to three. That's a good thing because once you put processes in place so that perfect master data is being created, you don't need to do as much in terms of error corrections. That need goes away. But overall, we are going to look at these five scenarios, five steps that actually help you achieve perfect master data. Okay, so the five steps include the assessment of master data. And it's something that, before you embark on anything, you have to know where you are. The one thing that we always notice with master data is, unfortunately, it tends to be very data centric. And data centricity may or may not really apply or align with business excellence. So if you're thinking data, is it how closely is it aligning to supply chain excellence? That's a questionable one. Traditional master data solutions and approach we've seen differ on how you should really look at master data. We'll look at some examples. Uh, the second one is really big in our opinion. Us coming from manufacturing, especially in automotive industry, there is a principle called poka-yoke, which is a Japanese principle of error proofing. You really make an attempt to um, make sure that people cannot make errors. There is no possibility of that happening. The more you can do this error proofing, the better your master data. And the thing that the best place to do error proofing is to do it at the source, as they call it in the beginning, not after the fact. And we'll look at what that means. Um, we also think, people, master data is far too complicated for most people, most normal business people. They can't look at an SAP screen and not wonder what is this, right? Far too complex. So you need to really simplify and put intelligent governance on top of what people are doing. And then the less input that people have, the more intelligent governance on top of the data that they're providing, the easier it is. The last one is uh, actually the fourth one is end-to-end master data processes. You will see in our example what that means. There is a general, we wouldn't call it misconception, but general feeling that, hey, if once we get a little bit of master data and some basic information, views, etc., we are done. We wash our hands and let the rest of it being done by the business teams and they can take care of it. We think end-to-end master data is very, very important to achieve perfect master data. And then there is the issue of, you already have systems in place and you need to, there's probably poor master data in those mission critical systems. Very likely it is the case. And then so you have to keep on correcting that. And we've ourselves helped our customers implement this continuous error correction. While we wouldn't want to do that, I don't think there should be any errors in mission critical systems, but that's something that you may have to do until you get to a point where there is zero errors being created. So these are 5 things that you can do to get or pursue the goal of perfect master data. Okay, so let's look at how do you get started. So you need to get a picture of where you are. And one of the things that we've helped our customers do, a lot of our customers also already having something in place, is something called master data health or master data quality, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of situations that we have seen, a lot of companies focus on master data quality from an IT perspective. Now, we're the head of a business, right? Now, what are they thinking about? They're not concerned about, we have duplicates. Yes, there could be duplicates. That's a problem of data. But from a business perspective, we are concerned about these. Are we ready for selling? How are we ready for finance, to be able to cost it, to be able to price it, right? Is our supply chain ready to make this? Do we have all the information from a lot sizing to order quantities, everything, right? So they think in terms of these business aspects of master data. So when you are evaluating master data, our opinion, of course, you can do it even from an IT perspective, and I'll show you how an IT uh, would probably look at. So if you look at a normal data-oriented perspective, they'd look at data completeness, accuracy, consistency, and so on, right? So this is good, but it serves the purpose of data management teams, or data governance teams, not necessarily business. What we would focus on, or you would want to also focus on to get business buy-in and really impact the business excellence metrics, is to really look the same master data. It doesn't have to be different. It is not different, as a matter of fact, from this lens, which is, how good are we from a sales, supply chain, finance, and commerce and search marketing, etc. perspective. Or you can combine both of them. We would definitely lean on this as a way to really improve master data, okay, and how it can influence your business operations. Okay, so they'll look at that. And the other thing that we have noticed is you do need to get, we've seen business teams to be a little bit detached from the actual master data governance process. Typically, they fill out some spreadsheets, they'll email a master data steward or a team, and then say, okay, go ahead and do something, create it in SAP or Salesforce or Amazon Vendor Central, so on, right? It is because, and then, they are out of the loop after that. What we think is really important is to have the stakeholders themselves lead the business process and be involved in and be responsible for governance. Okay. And then because that's a team that knows the most about any of this, and they are concerned about, how are we doing from a business perspective, right? So what we think is really useful is to have these workflows extend directly to the business teams that are responsible for any of this master data, right? Not fill out an Excel sheet and throw it over the wall. And that's where a lot of problems come as far as as from the situations that we've seen. So a workflow-oriented approach where the business teams are driving both creation, governance, and eventually, uh, find a way, using automated techniques or integration to propagate the master data into different systems. So that's really important. And then we'll look at and if that is a strategy that you take, that is the most common strategy that we really apply at our customers is if business is going to be driving these processes, what you do need to do is what we call error proofing techniques. The first thing that needs to happen when you're doing error proofing techniques is simplification of the process and the information gathering. Um, I don't know how many of the people here I have, if you ask people to go log in or show SAP screens and say this is the type of information they want, you will definitely lose a lot of business teams. So what you would want to do is to simplify the way business teams interact with master data. It could be a lot of business information combined with the business process. So we often integrate master data directly into NPI processes, like they're doing go-to-market or product releases, engineering changes, and often you'd want to have master data as part of that workflow, and then extend that process directly to different systems from a master data creation or update perspective. And within those processes are these governance features, right? So you want to simplify first, and then you absolutely want to ensure configure required values, some of it directly used by the source systems or even for business workflow driven rules. Okay. The other thing that we do emphasize here is depending upon the type of master data that you're working with, they're up to 60-70% are default values. Based upon this, this is the default value. You don't even want to give an option to change. Okay. So as you can, if you can configure these types of things, it really minimizes the information overload and people decisions that they have to make, right? So fewer errors. Um, and the other thing that we've seen is a lot of times, people have to select something, and that list is, instead of narrowing it down to what is possible, that list is really large, and people get confused. And in many cases, they'll make wrong selections, etc. Right? So a way to really make the possible values smaller and more intelligent, that really helps to reduce the number of errors. And then, of course, and this is pretty common. We've seen a lot of issues with descriptions, long descriptions, and things like that, because those things go everywhere, right? Your Amazon content will have descriptions, your labels will have descriptions, right? And if there is no way to standardize some of that, it creates a lot of havoc, especially duplication, etc. That can happen because of this lack of standardization. So the more you can standardize using some calculation techniques, the easier it is for some level of cleanliness or the path to perfect master data. You're getting closer and closer. The other thing that people, so if you look at this standardization, a lot of that depends upon, some calculated values, inbuilt validation as people are selecting various options. So these are things that all of these error proofing is something that you're doing right before or as people are working with master data, right? Before it is being created in source systems, people you're interacting with. So at the source, you're making sure that errors are completely minimized as much as possible. Okay. And then once that is minimized, one of the things that we have noticed is, uh, you know, it's okay to create the first set of master data, but if you think of the overall master data, what is useful for business, if you have to manufacture something, you have to order something from a supplier, or you have to release it into the market from a go-to-market perspective. There is a lot of process that needs to happen, it in terms of, and it creates master data and different. So if you are and if you have like SAP or Oracle, you set up the basic information for material, you have a lot of teams coming in and providing information. Once that is done, you have to extend that material, as they call it, the terminology, to different plants so they can actually make it there. Sometimes you have to, also have a parallel process to create some packaging materials. So you have to source those packaging materials in many cases. Most definitely, if you have, very sensitive or, you're in food and beverage or pharma, you have to create inspection plans. You have to assign those inspection plans to the plants and materials. And so there is at least 60 to 70% more work beyond just creating, basic material information, right? Routings and recipes and costing. And the final step real here is, what they call release material. So this is one of the most common workflows that we support with our the solution and with our customers. In Before we actually implement this, the master data team used to stop here, saying, okay, we've set up the material. Hey, manufacturing, can you go ahead and go add this to different plants? Manufacturing and R&D, can you set up these routings and recipes, right? So it would be then distributed. The timelines are really long, lots of mistakes. So what we recommend is to bring this thing into your governance structure and the workflow process itself, so that no mistakes and nothing is left to chance until the material is actually released. Okay, so this is when the master data is ready for business. Then people can order, you can use in production planning. and you can use it in for warehouses, etc. Right? So end-to-end process is very, very important if you want to get the perfect master data in place that is ready for business, what we call. Okay, so now we've done as much as possible to make sure that good master data is created right from the beginning. Now, if you start from today, if if you follow the previous steps, we almost guarantee you that there will be no master data errors in your mission critical systems. But you're not starting today. You started like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You have all these systems that already have poor master data. So what do we do about it, right? What is very common with our customers is because we do provide a lot of error correction workflows, is to set up this error correction in mission critical systems. It's like a every day, go and check, is there any poor master data, this thing, and what is that, right? So, for example, this could be the situation, right? You check every day in your ECC and S/4HANA, Salesforce, any other systems that you have, what is, and then this all depends upon the types of rules that you have, right? What is good master data? It could be up to 20, 30, 100 rules that will continuously running. And it they generate failed master data, and then you put them into these correction workflows. People may be involved. Some of them could be completely automated. And like, for example, a good example here is for specific materials, we need to make sure that availability check is correct, right? So this is making sure that all the materials that fail availability check rule are corrected on a daily basis. So if you have this system in place, this is assuming that you have poor master data. Uh, Once you set these correction workflows in place, they should just correct themselves on a daily basis. And our position is once you have the clean master data that is coming in, and in combination with continuous error correction workflows, you should theoretically get to a very good place quickly in just a few months. Okay, and that's the only way you can actually show to people that this actually works, right? Once you have the error proofing in place, the continuous error correction in place, you should literally see the master data assessments or the domains or the dimensions you're measuring from. Again, it could be duplicates or data quality, consistency. You can use a combination of both IT plus business oriented perspective of master data quality, right? You should definitely see it go over 95 and almost approaching 100%. So once this is in place, you can really relax this continuous error correction workflows because this process itself is a little bit involved in the sense, you have to maintain these workflows, you have to keep the rules firing, you have to daily go and check your mission critical systems, there are any poor master data. But once you get to this stage, and once you have error proofing in place, you are more or less guaranteed that you can you're approaching perfect master data situation. I think anything over 98% in our perspective, there is always some random master data that shows up, but as long as it's not being used in actual production processes, you're good. But anything over 97, 98 is actually approaching very good quality. Okay, so these are things that we have seen working. We do, a lot of customers ask, hey, do we have to do all of these things? Yes, it would be useful if you do all of these things, but if your resources are limited and if you have to do only one thing, we always say it would be the error proofing that you should do because that literally stops errors from getting in and propagating into your mission critical systems. Once you have these error proofing processes in place, and I'll show you a couple of examples that we can look at. You should over time you should start to see master data assessments and quality scores improving pretty dramatically. Now, one other thing that we do emphasize that you should consider, because this has become a real pain for a lot of master customers, is the lack of end-to-end master data processes, because that really leaves many, many things hanging. So once you have error proofing in place, if you can support end-to-end master data processes from a creation, synchronization, as well as releasing products, materials, or customers, I think you will be in a very, very good place. So two things you do. Of course, you can always think of, hey, we will first do clean up, what we have, and not really implement the processes, and then start doing assessments. You can also do that. But these two are really the main things that you can do to pursue that master data strategy. Okay. Just like a quick demo of what we're going to be doing. So we have a demo system that is in place. So clearly you can see master data workflows. Generally, master data workflows, you design, and these are the essential workflows that create your perfect master data, right? So from new SKU request to as many number of processes that you need to create and maintain the master data lifecycle. Um, the assessments are things that you can design yourself. Each assessment really looks at different aspects. You can look at from a domain. Like, for example, the assessment that is meaningful for finished goods is not what you would want for a purchased material, right? Finished goods has a lot more assessment criteria and uh, dimensions and elements that are meaningful for you. So you can do that. And then, over timelines, of course, you're going to measure that. Most of our customers do this like once a month, these assessments, but you can also reduce that frequency to once a week if needed. Um, but that requires evaluating all of your master data against these assessment dimensions and elements of those dimensions. The other thing that really we would emphasize is these workflows, right? Simplification of these workflows. When we look at um, two things, right? We looked at error proofing. A good example here is, when business teams come in, they might have to make a decision about, hey, which plant are we going to first make it in? So if I select New York, there are lots of dependent values that they don't have to make a decision on. So if I pick New York, so the plant is already selected, the production line is selected. Some of the other aspects too are being selected here. If you look at it, there are lots of different default values that are already in place. These are all different things that are used to create this material. Lots of defaults that are done. And in addition, the drop-down values are also minimized so that only a few are selected. So once I select this drop-down values, let's pick the bounty. Okay. And we'll pick, if you notice here, the required values. If I try to now save it, it'll say, okay, these are all the required values that you need to provide. So nothing is left to chance here, right? So let's give the values 777. Okay. And if you notice here, the descriptions are already actually being added here. Okay. So let me go ahead and give the height 600. Okay. So we put two, number of units, two, wrapper. These are options, right? The business is making the decisions here. And based on that, the actual description is already being calculated. So if you can standardize some of these things, so everything, the less information that is requested from business, the easier it is for them to not make mistakes. Okay. So these are techniques that you can use, and you can, based upon five pieces of information, a lot of our customers, based on like five or six pieces of key information, everything else is done for them. There is no reason to even, the whole process is set up, right? Now, when you think of, okay, this is the submission, initial request, right? The very, very beginning part of it. If you look at now, I'm going to save this. We'll come back to this. If you look at the overall workflow that is involved in creating it, so if you think about the types of things that we have to do, you can look at the primary plant. You have lots of different teams coming in and providing input, right? Master data team, sales operations, accounting, manufacturing teams. They all come in and provide. So the more people you bring in as part of the governance process, the better. They shouldn't have to send you an Excel and be done, right? Throw it over the wall syndrome. So you want to avoid that. Once that is done, the workflow should continue on until, it's manufacturing plants, the bombs are created, the routings are created. Depending upon the information that you have here, even these steps can also be automated, right? Creating the production version and everything, and then release for production. So as far as master data is concerned, your master data is ready when step number 37 is done. Okay? Not when, we just put the basic information into the system and be done, right? So in our opinion, the end-to-end process is extremely important to make sure the master data is set up properly and is usable by the business for various functions, right? From production to sales to quality control. Okay. So these are a few of the things that we've seen work really well and some of our customers. So we will pause it now and take any questions. Okay. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type it into the chat. We can answer the question right here since we have five more minutes. Yeah, so there's a question on good presentation. Do you distribute the presentation? Yes. So we should have the presentation and the recording ready. I think we should get it by max Monday. We'll try to get it by tomorrow itself, but usually it takes a little bit of preparation. So the other thing that uh, question comes up is, how does it interoperate? Are these workflows connected to our um, downstream systems like ERP and planning and manufacturing execution systems? And say yes. So this workflow that you're looking at here is a combination of both people coming and providing information to directly creating these materials to set up directly in the system. So these are systems that are already connected to various external systems. So it automates the whole process completely. So here it's connected to our ECC and S/4HANAs. And it automatically creates all of the materials and creates that perfect data that these systems expect. So not only are you making sure that proper data, correct, perfect data is going in, but you're also automating a whole lot of process. So we've seen things that used to take, 20 days setting up a new customer, literally going down to like 2, 3 days. because everybody is connected and the systems are also automatically updated through the workflows. Yep. So if you think of the other thing that question comes up is, do we have to design all of these, or is there um, templates, etc., that can be readily usable? So it's 50-50. A lot of times, many of our customers have documented master data processes. When you work with this workflow engine, it will mimic what you have, right? So if you think of new SKU request, a good example here is it'll look exactly like how you are currently doing, right? So it might be things in terms of who are all coming in here. So it's a little bit different. So you 50% of the time you design your own workflows. The other 50%, a lot of customers take what we already designed. So we have lots of setting up of new materials to using existing materials to create new materials and new products, NPI process, engineering processes, etc., that you can use as out of the box almost. Okay. The other thing common is most of it's what we call do-it-yourself approach. So most of our customers, they do it, they design their own scenarios, and a little bit of our help, they just manage it themselves. So they started with a few important ones, primarily in materials, but they generally expand it to like suppliers and customers onboarding. So it can be a little bit more um, phased manner on how you can approach this. So there is a question on how does it differ from traditional, what we call solutions like SAP MDG and so on. We when we design master data solution here, we approached it from like an outside in. It's not very specific to SAP, although we should say 80% of our customers have SAP, ECC, and S/4HANA, and all of that. So it covers not only SAP but general business master data, right? From commerce to supply chain data and so on. So parts and engineering information, everything that is doing. The primary difference between, I would say, MDG, and many of our customers also have MDG and they complement it with this solution here, is MDG is very dedicated to SAP, whereas we are not only dedicated to SAP, but several other domains that are important, solutions as well as domains that are important from a business perspective. So for example, we do a lot of work in NPI and supply chain. So a lot of the master data that flows between supply chain and suppliers, with your customers, with engineering systems, those are all flowing through and managing within our environments. Yeah. Yeah. It's really up to you. If you once you have this, it may or may not make any sense to MDG, but many of our customers also have MDG. So they do it for a very specific reason. But this is like an overlay on top of it's very business oriented master data, I should say. Okay. If uh, Let's see if we can have one more minute, and then I know everyone has potentially other tasks to attend to. So what we'll do is close out this session now. It's 8:45. We will, as soon as we get the video and the presentation, we will share that via email. So if you have any questions, we will answer via email, or if there is a need, we do, many of our Customers sometimes ask us to do some assessment. Sometimes they want to test drive this, different aspects, either workflows or master data assessments. We can support, if you have any interest in uh, taking doing a test drive. Okay. Yeah, we will follow up and we can schedule like a 30-minute to 45-minute discovery and demo session, very specific demo for your needs if needed. So please feel free to reach out to us. But expect like an email with the video and the presentation within the next couple of days. Okay, thank you again for your time. Have a great day.